Podcast Network.
Yo. This your boy EJ, aka Sir Evangeline Joseph, aka The Bully, aka Mr. 10 Feet, aka Big Jim Stepper. That's all I got today.
Oh, keep it short and sweet today.
Yeah, short and sweet.
Okay, it's your boy Wayne, Willmatic Beats. I'm gonna keep mine short and simple too. We getting straight to the point today.
Man, we got this man here. Listen, I can say a lot about this man, but he's legendary. He's pushing the culture forward,
all the way forward.
As far as the art world and Columbus culture. We got in the building. Who we got in the building today?
Hey, before we even get to it, I just want to say we walked in this studio.
Bro, we not. Oh yeah, we not at home.
We not in our usual.
We not at home.
You'll see when you see the visuals.
Listen, it's beautiful in here. Do you hear me?
Walked in here and we seen the artwork.
As soon as you walk in,
and you just feel inspired.
Listen, I'm ready to get this shit started, bro.
Man, we got some pieces.
Listen, Tony the artist is in the building.
That was good.
How you doing, bro?
I'm great. Now, we're going to talk about that purchasing artwork real fast. Because starving artist is a real term. But yeah, I'm great.
Right.
This is phenomenal.
Right. That's great, man. That's great. First off, thank you.
Right. Oh, thank you.
For allowing us to do this here. This is a beautiful establishment that we're in, man.
Absolutely.
And,
thank you.
But first and foremost,
we always start the show same way.
Hey.
We got to figure out, where are you from?
Oh, this is fun. So I'm from Lockport, New York.
I've
been in Columbus for about 12 to 13 years. So this is home, but depends on what paperwork I'm filling out. What's gonna pop up? They can always check the birth certificate, but yeah, I've been here long enough. So I say I've been colonized or southernized, but I think people always kind of feel like it's not really, his vibe isn't from here. It's also not really New Yorker, but yeah.
What brought you here?
Family and tragedy in family and death and just the expense and cost of living and slowly drifting further south where the rest of family were. So, in short, that's kind of what happened.
Understandable. So I want to jump right into it, bro.
Let's do it.
When did you fall in love with art?
I think, that's a really good question. I think everybody who finds themselves calling themselves creatives or artists, they always kind of have a sense of intellect and draw towards things that are not natural, if that makes sense. So we always are a little bit further ahead of the most, corporate mindset or the most ideal people. And I think I always tried to push myself in a corporate setting, but there was something different. Because the other side of my brain, the creative side of my brain, was drawn towards the abnormality of life. So I slowly just picked up a pencil. I don't know when. I always lean on 13 years old. But my mom was a seamstress and she worked in the fashion world. So it was kind of, it was inherited, that I was going to find some sort of a outlet in art. And that's just kind of how it happened. And now I'm an artist. Yeah, it just, it's natural. It just, that's kind of how it happened when I think about it.
Bro, when I look at your work, bro, it's like, it's literally like a one-of-one feeling.
Right. Wow.
Like, because, certain pieces or like certain things of certain artists, only that person can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's a bunch of, Basquiat's.
Yeah.
Or Andy Warhol. Or just, it's those people out there. Whether they more so emulated it, you know what I'm saying? Like imitated it or just whatever. Or they just did it on their own.
Yeah.
But when I see your art, like, bruh, only Tony Pettis could have done that.
That's really big. Thank you so much for that.
Something different about it.
Yeah. I really appreciate. I don't think I don't think anything about it. I don't know. I try to. Sometimes I get in my head a lot because you don't want to emulate too much. You take what you can and then you put what's you in that so that it shines through as something new. And we all know there's nothing new under the sun, but we try to recreate moments, not so much the work itself, but moments, the feeling behind art, like Norman Rockwell or like you just said, Basquiat or the rest of them, Warhol. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. My stuff is really basic to me. So it's really interesting that you said that. I guess because I know me and I know what I can do. Right. And but I'm always surrounded by so many artists that I'm like, how do you do that? And damn, that's like 6 feet tall. Like stuff like that. And I don't know. So I appreciate that.
So you don't think like...
I'm going to look around too while we're talking.
Like, bro, you don't think like that's great?
I think it's good.
No, you don't think it's great.
No. But I feel like that's every artist, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but everything that's on the wall in this studio had to pass an immense amount of Tony likes or dislikes. And there's a lot of work that's in this room that y'all don't see because it doesn't pass whatever that mental test is. So kudos to these pieces for making it to the final round.
Like these is like, bruh, like they're staples.
Thank you so much.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So what? How would you describe your style?
I would say it's tricky because a lot of people, and we had some guests in here a few days ago filming for something, it's not realism. I think it gives you a sense of realism, but then you quickly feel the cartoony little animation in there. So it doesn't have a name, but they would say it's minor realism. So it's not hyper realism where you look at it and you think that you're looking at a photo, right? But it has elements that take, a little bit of more, a tiny bit more skill and precision to kind of trick the eye. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's just it's almost there, but it's not. It's Tony.
It's a combination of both in a way.
Yeah, in a way. I think.
Right. So you grew up. You were really big, like a really big fan of cartoons.
Just cartoons and color and art and expression. If that makes any sense. Just abnormality back again. I just like anything that's outside of the normal, and that kind of tells a story, but not in a clear way. Like we know there's something there, but we don't really know what it is unless we ask a question.
Right. You spoke about just being harsh on yourself. Well, you didn't use the word harsh, but I'm assuming you're a harsh critic on yourself when it comes to your own art. How do you feel about other artists judging your art?
Ooh, I don't like critiques. Take them well. I don't like them. I don't like them unless you know me. So I'm always really quickly, I'm quick to have a small group of friends. I think it's good to have a second, third, fourth, fifth eye. But I'm not gonna, how do you say, when you have a baby, you're not gonna show everybody your child. Right. Nowadays we do because social media exists, but it's that immediate group of friends and family that get to see your kid and, get to smile and look at it. I'm sacred in that sense. And I've come more out of that shell after like meeting other artists and talking to other people. But I think it's not that it bothers me in the sense of like Tony's going to be crazy if I say I don't like it, because that doesn't bother me either way. We all have different things we're trying to convey, right. And abstraction work, like everybody has something to say about that because you don't know what it is. That's the part that makes it abstract. But I think I'm just harsh on me. If people critique it, so be it. But unless it's constructive criticism, that's what I like. Just naysay, I don't like it, or I do like it. I don't think that helps me at all. You know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense to your question?
So you're looking on like, okay, how can you say that you don't like it, so how can I better myself? Yeah. So it's more so like a progressive. Don't be
passive.
Progressive over being passive for sure.
Right. How often do you look at other artists for progression?
All the time, because my studio is above my boss's studio, so all of his work fills the room, so I have to pass it to get it up here. And I'm like, maybe if I do that, and then I'll talk to him. And I'm so blessed and fortunate to have so many bigger artists in the city that I can kind of look to for advice and certain things. But also, we're the only people, like you said, that do what we do, so they don't know what story I'm trying to tell. Right. And that's kind of where you go back to like constructive criticism on the formality and all of that stuff about it, but knowing what you're trying to get across is the best part, because only you can tell that story in whatever way it is. Like, Gary can't help me do it, Bo can't help me do it, only I can.
Right.
But structure and colors, they can give input. Constructive criticism, they can't help me tell the story.
So you mentioned a couple of times about telling a story into your work. Do you ever know what story that you're trying to tell? Usually
that's what starts it. Like, I know what I want to get across, but a lot of times I don't know how to get there. Like, I know what I want people to get from it, and if they ask questions, I know what answer I'm going to give them. But I mean, like with the black piece, it was clear that, like, in that moment in Columbus, and not even just in Columbus, across the world, that was when the rise of all the racial injustice. We were pissed off. Black people felt unappreciated. We always do, but we especially felt unappreciated in that moment. And it was, time for the riots, George Floyd, everything's going on. I knew that I wanted one single piece that stood for peace, that stood for, that solidified what I feel when I think of local black talent and people working together and everything other than the negative parts that they want to share about black people.
Right.
And that was received really well. No one had to ask. They just say it just has that energy of everything that you would, expect it to be. So
yeah, it looks to me like unity.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's everything I wanted to show in the midst of them trying to rip us apart and make us feel less than.
Right.
So that worked. See, yay.
Do you always strive for your pieces to comment on political and social issues?
I don't, but somehow I don't know what happened to me. Something flipped, and I usually try to stray away from that. And then I know things have changed in this moment in life, right. And I was like, fuck it. I really want to be raw as possible, and I want to draw like things that I actually feel. I feel like a real artist knows how to convey what they feel in the moment. I don't want to draw puppies or paint puppies because that's what's going to sell. And that helped me a little bit kind of work through what we were going through as a collective race in that moment, just drawing out the pain and the frustration. It was different for my followers, for sure. They were just like, oh, okay, he's cursing in his art, and it's stronger. There's a sense of something there that's more than the piece or the giraffes behind y'all or like the animals, but it felt good to the soul as an artist. So I think I slowly made that transition to political work, but I mean, it's all the same. It's all Tony. We keep going back to that. So
right.
Yeah.
What's your favorite piece thus far? And what story did it tell in it?
It's always a good question. I think my first piece is always the one that I haven't created yet. Because, I mean, I've already done all these. That's what I was telling Will the other day. Shout out to Will Oliver. I said, I've already done some of this stuff. And for me, it excites me for the moment, but I'm always excited to see what's the next story. What happens in the world and what happens in my little world that makes me want to do something new. So I like the standstills, like the in between black. I don't think I created anything that large in like 3 or 4 months, because I was just waiting on the next story, and that's what excites me when something hits and I feel like it needs to be told in only a way that Tony can. I do it. So I think that was a safe answer, but that's a real answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest you've ever went.
Or maybe it's that protest sign. Which one's bigger? I don't know which one's bigger. I think it's probably the protest sign.
Yeah, they're about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not about the same.
So you're an administrative assistant here?
I am. I'm the administrative assistant. That's a mouthful for Dr. Gary Pound. So I'm basically I represent the studio and I represent him online and all the fun stuff. So I get to talk to all the angry customers, and I get to talk to all the cool people who want to do art collaborations and all of that stuff, and I get to sell his work and all that fun stuff. It's fun.
You get to sell yours too?
Yeah. So I work for me, but I work for him. It's both. My it's fun actually, and it helps me because for most artists, if you're doing art full time, the issue comes into play when you're working a 9 to 5 that is not around your art. So it's kind of hard to put those together and to muster up enough energy to be an artist at nighttime when you're working in retail or you're working somewhere else. And I know that because I've been there. But when you work in a studio where your art's there, and not only your art's there, but your inspiration is downstairs and your boss is it all kind of works together. It's really, really, really cool.
So take us back to when you were working retail. How did you find that that work-life balance, or I'm not work-life, but
like I know
work balance to
still do art
and be inspired?
I wasn't. I think most creatives, I'm speaking for the good half of the creatives because some of us lazy, but for the good half of us that really want to put our best foot forward, I put my all into everything. I worked, and this is going to take y'all for a spin. I worked at Headspace Sports for 2 years, so I knew everything about shoes, knew everything about the newer shoes, I knew everything about the tickets and everything, and then I worked at Academy. I helped open the Academy Sports here in Columbus, and I worked there for 2 years. And I was fired. And that pushed me into art. But when I was there, I really enjoyed what I was doing. It didn't have to be art, but I put myself in there enough to, I guess I can put it this way. Every time I'm in a place where it feels like this is going to be longer than a month, longer than 2 months, longer than a week, longer than whatever, I try to muster up enough energy to stay there and to make it home. And I didn't consider doing art. I left that in high school. I knew I was good at it, but I just didn't. You don't see black artists, and you don't see artists besides Basquiat and people that you've never met, like making it full time, just being painters. You don't. When you think about it, you really don't. Not neighborhood. Oh, Mr. Whoever he works at Aflac, and this person works right here, and he's a full time artist. You don't. And then he not crazy or broke. There's always something there, and I didn't see that, so I went with safety over what probably felt good. And when I was in safety, I made sure that I was the best salesperson at Academy. I was the best salesperson at Hibbets, but I shut that side of my brain off. I was like, you're not going to be an artist. This is not going to bring money. They called y'all starving artists. You don't want to starve. You're already small. You just go with what makes
pretty
sense.
Much you tore yourself down.
Absolutely.
To build yourself up to the point where somebody else can view you as such.
Well, yeah, I went with what made sense. Like if somebody came to a guy that had a full-time family and they said go, and I didn't have 23, I don't have any kids and all that stuff. But if someone came to a dad and they said, do you want to chase your dreams, or do you want to stay in this job that's putting food on the table and keeping the consistency? It's kind of that type of deal. I didn't want to be homeless and have this burning desire to be an artist and pursue that relentlessly without having any money. And in your mind, you just automatically associate being a full-time artist with struggle. And it's real. In this climate, especially right now with COVID, but I really just ended up, I don't know how I ended up there, but when I was there, I made the best out of it as a salesperson. I never even thought about art in that sense. And I didn't even, to be honest, I didn't practice it. When I went back to my old apartment, I didn't, because I was tired. You work all those hours and then you're just pencil, paper, fuck that, and you just sleep. So
art was still obviously your passion.
It definitely was. I'm just real good at shutting shit off.
How did that affect you mentally?
Looking back at it, I think it honestly gave me rest, though, because, like I said, if you chase things relentlessly through high school, I was known as that art kid, and they just knew when I got out I was going to do something with art, and I was like, nope. Worked a year from Muskogee County actually as a maintenance painter. That's my first job. So a lot of the schools and the insides of the buildings, I painted a lot of those. I did the ticket booths at A.J. McClung Stadium. And then I jumped retail and never looked back. But I had all my credits art wise for CSU, had all my AP thing, everything was lined up. I just I don't know what happened. Now y'all got me thinking about my life. But I really
tend to do that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Tony, but I didn't for some reason. I think, like I said, I feel like it gave me rest looking at me now, because if I would have relentlessly chased some sort of a artistic dream then, I don't think I would have had the energy now. Like, I needed to reinvent myself, even though I wasn't doing anything to reinvent myself, but stopping, I just rested for something years. And then the Columbus Collective popped up when I was fired from Academy. So I went back into art right after that 4-year.
God has a really weird way of doing things.
Strange way. Very, now that you say that, it was. Yeah, I'm gonna cry tonight. Just gonna cry. But yeah, that's interesting.
So tell us about the Columbus Collective.
I don't really want to talk about them.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding. We had an interesting, and I said that I would bear it all for the free gems, but we had an interesting relationship. We had a falling out, but for the time being, it was a really, really momentous moment in Columbus. Like, there were so many artistic things going on in that time frame, and it just felt so ripe and right for so many reasons. But this group formed, and they asked Jason Gamache, shout out to Jason Gamache of P-Tap rides and stuff. He had this property, but it was only an abandoned building on Broadway. And one of my friends, she wanted to do a show there. She had a vision of doing an art show in an abandoned building. Didn't know who owned it, but we know everybody owns something. Like, they may haven't, it's not developed. They haven't done anything with it, but somebody owns it. Somehow they found out the number, they called, and they set up a show, kind of got rid of all the restricted areas and things so we wouldn't be sued or anything. And they started putting out an artist call for it, and slowly but surely the collective was formed. I was a part of it, but we were all working our jobs because I was still at Academy and they were still doing their jobs. Slowly we all quit. I think 2 of us were fired and then 1 quit. And we were like, because it was hard to manage. Right. And that also is a testament to why I don't feel things would have worked out if I was trying art. And I mean, I could have made it happen, but you just don't want to stretch yourself thin. Because like I said, if I'm focused, I really give one thing my all. But we ended up all quitting and putting everything into the collective. We did that long for, did we hit a year before everything went to shit? I think so. I think we went one solid year before everything went to shit. And God has an odd way of doing things. I met my boss now through, I knew of him because he's synonymous with Columbus culture. But he was in one of the shows and we talked about possible thing, and and then the Columbus Collective failed.
What would you say that the most valuable lesson with the Columbus Collective?
Don't work with people. I like singles, not albums. Write be alone. I'm always a lone ranger, and I work better because I know when what makes Tony tick or talk, and you know yourself so well. And I'm not saying you're not always gonna, because see, now the free gems looking at each other like, but if you know the people, because I didn't know any of them. We were all new to each other. There were only 2 individuals within the collective's like core group that went to school together, and they knew each other well. Me and Trey, and when I was the only oddball. Just realized that, because both Trey and Matt were related, and the other 2 girls were school friends. So I'm the only person who had my back in that sense. So what I tell people is I like singles, not albums. So, but yeah, it was fun.
As a creative, do you feel like you're always searching for validation?
No.
Even if it's from yourself?
Yeah. I like what I have to say in that sense, but I feel like too many voices on one thing can cause confusion. You don't want to ask too many people too many things, because it'll stir you away from, what we talked about earlier. Know that I want to tell a story. Y'all aren't going to know what story I want to convey, but you're going to have opinions about it based off of what you see. And what you see isn't probably what I originally felt. So it's just, we're all messing it up now. Just stick to one plan and, search yourself and get inspiration on the outer skirts. By that I mean, like, if I had a vision, I would be asking more questions like, should I do this brush stroke or this line pattern? Not so much about, well, maybe Tony, you shouldn't put the guy there because the guy's there for a reason. It's a story I'm telling. I didn't ask you nothing about what he's doing. I asked you what that line is. You know, that's what I'm saying. I ain't say nothing about that. I said what is the line, you know, so that's kind of my take on it. That makes sense?
Right. What current art world trends are you following?
I don't know. That's really good. Maybe that's what's wrong with me. I need to be back on some trends. I feel like the art world is doing something though, in the state of the world. Like this pandemic has done a lot to art. I've noticed Virgil and all these other like designers and artistic minds are trying to recreate or cause or just all the real poppy art like people are trying to be innovative, and Supreme's always doing something, but actual real day realism painters and things like that, like Bo and what he's doing in the town. That's about what I'm following. I'm just trying to see how their minds are working because we're weird right now. We're really trying to figure shit out in the best way possible. Like I market for we saw these prices earlier. How do you get someone to purchase a $48, $100 piece when they're still on the pandemic paying rent phase? So I'm following all the trends in a sense of e-commerce and like money and that side to see what the market looks like for artists. So I need to see if I need to call my boss from Academy one more time and about a month. Like, hey, I remember everything about the shoe department.
So I want to know when you first started wanting to sell your paintings. When was the moment you knew, okay, I can attach a price tag to this and it is going to go?
Oh, that's good. That's really good. I don't think I ever thought of myself as one that would sell them. And it's still a hard thing. Certain pieces of work, I recreate them in prints and stuff, but Bo Bartlett was the first person to tell me that a part of the process is, sharing it. And we always disassociate drawing it, painting it, working on it, and then just putting it somewhere and being happy with it and being content with it just sitting somewhere. But he was like, it needs to be in a gallery, it needs to be on Instagram, because a part of it, it's freeing for other people to see it. You see what you do all the time. But, the only way to reach the masses and to tell those stories, like if I'm making work that tells a story, why am I telling myself the story that I already was gifted in the vision in the first place? Where is it going?
Yeah.
It's with me. It came from me. It needs to go out. So when I got over that hump, I was like, all right, so that if it's going out, that means it needs to go out with some money. Yeah. So it can come in money-wise to me. And I think probably I sold a few things in college, not in the college years, and then in high school too, I think. But big boy prices, grown artist prices are just so much different. I think it took me, I'm gonna say a solid year to a solid year to feel comfortable, because I want to make sure that you're gonna get those naysayers that say it's not worth it, but you need to feel it within yourself that it's worth it before you send it out, or you will have those insecurities attached to selling it. Once I got over that year hump of like underselling and not selling at all, I was pretty straight with, learning more about the e-commerce side and what people were paying for. Then you start seeing scribbles on paper for thousands of dollars. You're like, oh yeah, my shit's worth it. You can get this for a couple of $1,000. Yeah. But it takes a minute. You got to learn your craft and be comfortable about letting it go at certain prices. So I think every artist still battles with that. But once you've done it as long as people like my boss, Gary, you can kind of get used to size, like paper sizes, what utensils, medium, and then you kind of know price. If I deduct anything, this. Does that make any sense to you? Okay,
yeah, for sure.
Okay, I was hoping.
Should you ever negotiate your price?
Sometimes, if I like the person. If I don't, you get a little bit extra on top of that. Like, I don't like your ass anyway. Can't stand your mama.
Listen, I said 2,000, but for you it's 25.
You said your mama Cheryl. I ain't like Cheryl ass anyway. There you go. And your daddy. This thing, I'm coming out $1 million out of pocket. It does, real quick.
So you mentioned like, as far as holding on to them, is that stemming from like, I don't want to say attachment issues, but just being like, I don't know. It's like having, like you said, having kids.
Yeah,
you're not gonna like sell your kids
to anybody.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
true.
it's like, so how did you deal with, or how did you get over the hump of attachment?
Well, I realized that you could recreate images, that people can get copies. And also with the type of art that I do shows regularly, and I put Gary in shows, and I do all, so I have to have some sort of an archive on site that's real. Like if I'm getting work that's going to go to a museum, I have to have that original. So I literally, if I'm attached to it, that kind of helps me figure out what goes and what originals go out. Right. But that saved me because I wasn't introduced to that in like high school, that you could create prints of something, and it's such a simple concept, but you're not taught that. Like I said, you don't see black artists or just artists in general that are doing this full time that know all these secrets and tips and tricks until you get out into the real world and study and all of that stuff. So that's what helped me, just knowing that it can be recreated, and honestly I can recreate it, but for the sake of shows and it being original, I wouldn't want to put a print in a show. I want people to be able to see the brush strokes and all of that kind of cool stuff and be able to get close to it, and that's usually how larger scale artists work their work out anyway.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead. How was your first show, and what was it?
My first show was in New York City, and I was 20.
Wow.
I love saying that shit.
Yeah, that's a big flex, man.
Pop it. That felt good. Can I look at the camera? It was in New York City, and I was 20. But I helped one of my friends, Ankar Dehensa. He is a Punjabi author in New York, and we knew each other through like Instagram and stuff like that. But I think I knew his family before then. I was really young when I was in New York. So he had been following me. He had been scouting for artists, and we had been talking about other things past art. And he told me he wrote this book, and he wanted to see if I would illustrate it. And it was a self-help book, and it was it's actually over there's one over there behind that thing. But it was a self-help book, and I was like, well, I've never illustrated anything before. And I thought that would be the ending for it. I thought I would just draw some pictures, get paid for it, send it to him. Well, he was like, well, I've had a lot of fun doing this with you, and I really wanted to do like a book release party. I'm like, well, how the hell are we going to do that? Because I'm in Columbus, Georgia, and you're in New York City. God has a strange way of doing stuff. He said that earlier. Because I've always wanted to go back to New York as an adult. And that was also my first time back ever since kid age. So so we figured it out. He actually paid for, it's like, when I talk about it, it's like a movie moment, because he paid for the venue, and the venue was at Bianca Canal. Sorry, Bianca, if you ever watched this. Bianca owns a shop in New York City, and she cleared her entire shop out for us to use it in a prime spot in Chelsea, New York. And I flew out from here in short, and we did it. And I remember getting the microphone and saying, this is really fun, because in part, this is my party, and I can't even drink because I'm only 20. And everybody laughed, and I was like, damn, I'm serious. I thought somebody was going to slide me a cup. Yeah. But, that was my first show, and it went really well. There were a lot of things I learned. Nothing was framed, and the building itself was just very pasty white, New York-styled, upscale glass window building. But my work just kind of blended into the walls because none of it was framed. It was literally on fucking foam board. You think about it, you get mad because it makes sense. Yeah. But it was, it's a learning experience, and I enjoyed it. We literally blew up every image from the book, and we had them on the wall. So it's fun.
That's dope, bro.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
What did that moment teach you?
You love these teachable moments, don't you?
Got to, man. I
was going to say, that is what this is, huh?
I'm sorry.
What did that teach me? Obviously, don't put foam board on the wall. But I don't know. To do all the things, to go with your instincts. Because honestly, I struggled with knowing if that was a safe thing to do. You don't know a lot of people who are just 20-year-olds and, get their friends who drop them off at the airport, and you go to New York to meet a stranger. Right. I know you, but I don't know you. I was like, either I'm getting raped or I'm never coming back to Columbus. We're going to see this through, you know? And I remember going live when I first got out of the LaGuardia airport. I was walking with my luggage. You literally have your luggage, and I'm on the street, and I'm walking because I don't want to take a taxi. I was like, I know this place. You're in the middle of the street, lost in New York. And I went live, and I was like, y'all, I made it. My church was like, yeah, be careful. And then my phone died. So not only are you lost in New York, I was using maps. I'm 20 years old, got my luggage. There's a homeless man yelling at me, all of this is going on.
They're in New York.
In New York. Cars, or somebody going to
streets is crowded.
Everything's happening. And he was a few blocks down because I had looked at my maps, and I was like, oh, well, he's close, but I didn't know exactly where he was. In New York, everything's packed, so I could go in one door over and be in the middle of somebody else's house. Mm-hmm. So I'm just walking on the streets. And I don't know how I did it. Charging stations, of course. Columbus needs charging stations, by the way. And I charged my phone to get it somewhere. He's like, you passed I said, you didn't come out, nigga, and get me? So I ended up seeing him. But that going with your instincts, it sometimes feels scary, but I would have never had that exposure. I met so many cool people. Our photographer for that day, and you can find that on like YouTube and on my Instagram, that whole video, but he was from Spain. And we're friends now. He came from Spain to film us, and now I have his number, and we text all the time. I have a deal now. I'm sponsored by Hydra. Is it Hydra? I gotta get y'all's name right. It's a water, basically a water company, and it's out of New York. And it's what is it called? I'm horrible at marketing these people. Y'all need to fire me.
Don't say that.
It's what is the acidic the bubbles carbonated? It's carbonated water.
Okay.
It's carbonated water. And
sponsor us.
Yeah, y'all can.
We need that sponsor.
Shout out to Hydra.
Listen, big shout out.
But he got a sponsor deal from them. They still sponsor me. If you go to their website, I've drawn their owners, and I did the portraits for them, and they're on their home screen page. But it's just cool. None of that would have happened if I would have been too scared to just go and try and feel that moment and feel it all the way through, not just feel it and say, oh, well, maybe next time, because so many people are next time people, and I was a now person in that moment. I'm glad I was.
Tomorrow never comes.
It doesn't.
As far as being an artist and having sponsors, what's the benefits of it?
I mean, reaching people beyond your means. I mean, you can't meet everybody. Instagram, Facebook, social media does a good job at connecting people, but there's nothing like those like one-on-one, like me being in New York, meeting this guy, him talking to me and liking my vibes and asking me to be, a part of their startup, and now they're doing really well. And I'm like, oh, don't forget, we're all in this, but it's really, it helps to push your name out there a little bit further. Any sponsorship that you can find, and don't shy away from the names that you don't know. Like if it's not Pepsi, like we don't know Hydra, but I don't know Hydra in a couple of years either. So it's like it all helps with notoriety and the more connected you are, the better you are, and the more exposure you get and all of that kind of stuff. You want your name to be out there and connected, and that makes sense.
Speaking of connecting and linking up with people, I saw we do our research.
That's what I'm about to say. Hell, he about to say. I'm leaning in. Don't holding his face. What's happening?
You were covered, or they wrote an article or interview. I didn't want to read it at that moment because I'd be like kind of like on the fence of interviews and of people who I'm about to have a conversation with, because I want to get that. You know what I'm saying? Like I want that.
Ask your own questions.
Right. So backtrack. Southern Views magazine.
I love Southern Views. Yeah.
Tell us about that. How did they link up with you? And what was that process like?
I think they felt sorry for me, so they did it. I was really depressed. I had a very downward spiral in that moment, and I don't know what was going on. I just know I was depressed because I remember coming back and posting that and saying, oh, this happened. But Sammy Saxon, shout out to him. I actually just posted about him today. He's the photographer for Southern Views. We hung out quite a lot in between the time of that article, and I think he just set it up. And I know his boss. I know the editor of Southern Views, and their offices are literally like a block away from the studio. So we all see each other often. We talked about it. My biggest thing was, Southern Views is whitewashed, and I was happy to be a black guy, and not only being black, but being a guy, because it's very women-centered, and nothing's wrong with that, and I guess that's the idea of it, Southern Views, and like all the fashion and fall fashion and stuff like that, but men are cool too, and it was
black men.
Yeah, black men are cool. I'm sorry.
Black men.
Black men
cool.
are, so it was cool to be featured. I remember John Hauser reaching out to me and saying, you're like the first black person that I've seen in there. I was like, well, that's not true. Julian Plowden was in there first, but I don't think people remember that as much. I don't know why, but I was like, he was first, and and Sammy also did that one, so he's kind of been we love Sammy.
Shout out to all of them, man. Shout out to Hauser.
Yeah, we love all of them.
Hauser out here killing it.
Scott said the whole name.
All of
Because somebody don't think like the dude that made that somebody don't think Sammy like R&B Sammy.
Yeah, Sammy Saxon Photography. Yeah, that's him. But he kind of connected that, and it was a real basic exchange of like questions and answers, and it was I like to get interviews done, and I don't chase them, but I think God does that for me to be reminded in certain moments, because I was down, so I like to read that and see what I said when I was down versus when I feel happy, and I'm like, chase your dreams, and everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
God is in control. So I like to read those things, but that was how that happened. If that makes all the
No, that makes perfect sense, and that's actually hard, because when I seen it, I was like, what the fuck?
That's hilarious.
This man is famous.
Just be popping up. It was a great article, and those photos were great too.
I'm gonna go back and read it. Like I said, the only reason why I didn't, because I started to, and I was like, nah, because I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, not to make it about us, but
it's about y'all. This is free gems.
One of our guests, Gumbo, was like,
Gumbo.
I didn't.
I know. I get it.
You know what I'm saying? Gumbo we didn't know. Okay, we didn't know this person.
Yeah.
So at the time, Gumbo had a couple of pointers or whatever, and I probably watched like 10 seconds of it. Because he had already did a one-on-one type thing with her and everything, and I had already, I watched it maybe like 10 seconds. I was like, man, fuck this. I don't want to.
I'm so glad you didn't say it like that.
Like,
you just didn't put mine to the side.
No, not like fuck this, like whatever.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But I'm saying that came out really bad.
Right.
But
That's okay.
But what I'm saying is, I didn't want to, like I said earlier,
I get what you're saying.
Right.
have our own experience.
Exactly.
Come up with my own questions.
Man, I wish you would have said that part first. I just
Yeah, man, that was real bad. That was real bad.
But we do care
I
about you personally.
No, I love Gumbo.
Man.
Nah, but
fuck this.
but it ended up turning out to be a great episode, nevertheless.
Absolutely.
But to rewind it
that
back,
got
Kind of
us.
flipped the script a little
That
bit.
got us.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, we're doing that?
nah. It's just how you expressing shit sometimes. But talk to us about how you linked up with Roses.
Oh, Roses. That was fun. And that picture's actually behind me. This is gonna be bad. I have not had a single thing to eat from Roses Caribbean Restaurant.
That is crazy.
And
they
that-
slap,
And
by the way.
and I have heard, and I'm always like, I got to make my way over there, and that's what pushed me further. But what was funny, I'm using all your taglines. God works in mysterious ways. I was just saying that I needed to come out there, and then Alan Rothschild, who is like a Columbus god-like figure that I've never met in my life. That's the odd part. Never met him in my life. He's over what recently happened with Roses. If you guys are watching, you're not from Columbus. She was featured. The restaurant was featured on an ESPN show called True South. But I've never met him, and he was the head honcho on getting that information and getting them to the city. Apparently he liked my artwork, and that's another like gem. You never know who's watching, so you always have to make sure you're putting your best self out there. Like in everything, it has to look good. It has to have a brand. It has to have a niche. You have to be represented well. You got to speak well. You got to promote yourself well, because he apparently was a big fan of my work and never liked a single thing on Instagram. I don't even know if we're following each other. And he said that he liked my artwork and thought that it would be a cool opportunity. And he just emailed me and said that. He's like, I'm Alan, which is weird because I have some awards over there and they're like from CSU, and his name is like permanently signed. It's like the foundational member. But anyway, he basically was the head honcho. A few days afterwards, John T. Edge, the producer and the main head over the show with Rose, that Rose was featured on, called me, and then I called Dacia, and I was like, y'all famous. No, we were just like talking, and I was like, oh my God, like this is wild, like, right. And I haven't even eaten there yet. Isn't that crazy? I was just thinking about coming over there and eating, and here we are, about to be on the show and do this and that and the third. So, and I called her back, and I was like, when I do art, I want to make sure that it makes sense, and I want to tell a story. Right. So I said, they want me to put food in a box. That's what I was told. John said, I said, well, that's not very storytelling, is it now, John?
Put food in a box.
So we first started out with this thing, because I was like, I'm not putting food in a box. I'm just difficult. And I said, it's a Caribbean restaurant. I want to put in a clam shell, because those boxes that you have at restaurants are actually called clam shells. So I was like, I want to put an actual clamshell. And then they were like, no, that doesn't really pay respects to Rose's Caribbean restaurant. Well, it does, but it's too much to Rose's and not enough, because they were highlighting 2 restaurants, which we still don't know.
So who was the second restaurant?
We still don't know who the other restaurant. Wow. Like, well, if you watch the episode, you know who they were, but they still weren't represented to me well, right? Because there was no promotion around them anyway. But we did. I went with that idea, and then I sent it to Dacia, and she loved it, and they loved it, but they thought it was too curved in her direction. But I actually drew their oxtails in the box and everything, and we collaborated, and I'm glad that, I hope that brought a lot of business to them, and I hope it's bringing it to them. And I have to get my ass over there.
Yes, bro.
Yeah,
ASAP tomorrow.
Yeah, look at that. Little sponsor.
How did
location?
Right.
Location, yeah.
They got 2 locations.
They do. Yeah. Look at all that. All this free marketing.
Oh shit! They was on we had them on.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Yeah. One of the great episodes.
I would say which episode, but I don't remember. Look at that.
Y'all have so many. I've been trying to catch up.
Yeah. Hey man, if you
season 1 to season 2,
listen,
y'all just cut them off.
Listen, if you blink too fast, you'll miss.
That's how it happens.
Right.
That's life.
But
That's life.
What headspace were you in when you got that email that he wanted you to collaborate?
I think I've gotten used to moments. They happen. We live by them. They just happen, and I think I was ready for one. Is that weird? Like, I can't tell the future, but I was ready for one. It's something happens, and I'm like, all right, something's about to happen. And he sent me the email, and I was like, I know his name enough to shake. Some people just message you, and you're just like, oh, this is about to be good. And I never met him, but I was like, if Alan's messaging me, this is going to be good. And I didn't expect that at all, but I was ready to receive it, for sure. And I wasn't going to turn that to nobody else if he came to me. Like, do you know another artist? No, you looking at him. You said a box? So I was ready for it. I was ready to receive it. I was in a good frame of mind, too, to play with it and to see how I could take their vision to the next level. So that's kind of why we started with the crazier design, because that was fun. It was fun.
Do you believe life to be a series of moments?
I do, depending on the person.
Depending on the person?
Yeah. You got to... Life's funny. I'm a moment person, and I'm a series person, because I feel like you have ebbs and flows, ups and downs, hills and valleys. Whatever word you want to put on it, whatever spin you want to put on it, it's still going to be compiled into moments, right? It's episodes. Like, you have episodes, start to finish. There's the through line. It's like movies if you love film. So I believe it to be that way, but I also believe that in those series you are your own director, you're your own producer, and you control the outcome. So you have more power in your series of events or in your moments, if you will, than you think you do. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
My bad. Go ahead.
If you could talk to Tony when he was 19.
Smoke more weed, Tony. You did not smoke enough when you thought it was so bad, and you probably would be so much better these days. And that little bag of white stuff, do that too. I'm just kidding. He
said, but definitely smoke more.
Definitely smoke more. But no, honestly, relax. I would have told myself to relax. I think I've had such a weird family dynamic, and that's contributed to my work ethic. And sometimes I just strive not to be the product or become the product of, what I was from, or to mimic laziness or to mimic, having these big dreams but never seeing them happen. That's such a sad life. Mm-hmm. I don't know if y'all have seen Viola Davis's speech, but she was talking about when she received an award. When she portrays people, everyone's like, you go for the stronger roles. And she said, assume those bodies in the graveyard, because those are the stories that need to be told. The people who dreamed and never got to see their dreams. And she just started going in, and I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because they did. You think of a life of dreaming about this moment of doing Free Gems and starting this podcast, but never doing it. You wasted your entire life on a thought.
On an idea.
On an idea. On a moment that never happened for you. So I think I would have told Tony to just act on things. You can dream, you can stay in the vision process, but you got to birth something. It's not going to be worth it if you're just dreaming all the time. No one likes dreams that long. We got to wake up, at some point. So I would have told Tony to wake up quicker.
Look at that gym.
Like have it,
That was a big one, man.
I'm glad, because I thought I was just throwing rubies at first. So now we got some diamonds. There we go. There we go. Now we're refined. I want to be like the ones I've watched. I want to be like the ones I've watched, but
oh God,
but I feel like
that man said I thought I was throwing rubies.
Now we more refined.
Now we got diamonds.
I like that. Y'all asked to talk to, because there's so many things, but that's one of the things. I would have said wake up quicker, like stay in the dream, but get in there long enough to figure things out, and then get out to make them practical. Let's see them happen in the real world, because that's all the ideal realm. That's not going to happen. That's what you want to see happen. So I think that's what I would have told him.
Is the artist life lonely?
Oh, that's such a sad question. It is. It is a lonely world if you think it. Once again, I can control that. I can control that narrative if I want to. Because art itself is a relationship, and not like it's intimate, but it's together. It's a partnership. Like, I'm not alone with my art. It works with me. The idea comes to me, and it's a collaboration between pencil and paper. It's a collaboration between brush and paper. That's the hippie response. But is it lonely in a sense of, I don't know. How do you think? Like, what are you trying to convey? Because is it lonely in a sense of? Because there's a lot of. I want to make sure I answer that.
If I'm thinking about it in the sense of creating for someone else, and you're always conveying the messages that other people want you to create, I can see how that would be lonely for an artist.
Yeah. Well, you can't do that, silly. you gotta make sure that in between you take ownership of your shit, and you have moments where Tony's just drawing for Tony, so that my whole life is not conveying what you want. But some people, they understand that artists want to be free, and for the most part, they'll reach out and they'll say, do you? These are a few things, but do you? This is your moment. And a lot of times it's commission work for specific things, but you have to make sure that you're building space to say, I'm just going to paint something ugly. I'm going to get this all out, or political shit is going on. I'm going to draw what I feel in this moment instead of working on commissions. So you have to create that space for self in the midst of working for everybody else, and that's life in general, I think.
My last question, and we could go on and on, but unfortunately
y'all got stuff to do.
Yeah. What makes a piece timeless?
Authenticity. Because nobody can do what you can do. So if it comes from you, no one else can convey what you feel. Like I said, no one can tell your story. But when it's fabricated or traced or, recreated, everybody, we've seen it before, obviously. It's nothing special about it. It's not really timeless, is it, if it's been done before? The Mona Lisa is not an attractive woman at all, but she is the Mona Lisa. There will never be another one, because it was authentic to that moment. And he created something that was weird and also beautiful and also different. Creating within spaces is really important because you never get this moment again. So if we're doing this Free Gems Network and something was to happen to either one of us, God forbid, in a few days, we can never get this moment back. So it's really rich, it's sacred, it's important to be authentic in the now. And that's what makes it timeless, I feel. Being authentic in the now and creating in the now. Anything that's made from self. That's good.
Time is really important to you, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Because we don't get it back. It's the only thing you don't get back in this life. So I want to spend every moment of it doing something that makes this world just a little bit better. Just a little bit. I do my part. Can't worry about what the fuck everybody else got going on. You can ruin the world if you want to, but you can't get it back. You can get a lot of things back, but you just can't get that back. I'm not going to be in a relationship for 10 years and then shit goes to shit. You just wasted 10 years of my life. Not completely. You taught me some stuff. I took some things with me. You took some stuff with you. But time is important, I think. Very important.
When does Tony feel that a piece is finished?
When I start fucking shit up. That's what I always tell people. You start and you're like, see, it was done about an hour ago and you still kept messing with it. I think every artist struggles with completion, especially musicians. And I've seen friends go to the studio and I'm like, you've worked on that same song for the last year. I can't tell you because I'm an artist and I get that, but stepping away. And sometimes undone is done. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of pieces that are studies for paintings, and the studies sell before the paintings do. And it's like, that was incomplete, but to you it was complete. So perspective is big. People may look at something that's not completely done in your eye, in your sight, but they see it perfectly, for them, above their couch or in their room or whatever. So there's that whole component. Perspective, perception, all that stuff matters because I can't think for me all the time. I got to figure out, what do other people like and how can this work still convey my story but be less, hardy and take less work, whatever that means. Yeah.
Gotcha, man. Man, this is really, really
insightful.
Bruh.
He's like, I like that. This is good.
This was, beautiful, bro. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you. This was a dream come true. I like Free Gems.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really do.
Thank you. That's really big. How we normally, end off.
Wait, got one more.
Okay, he was waiting over there. He was cooking.
One more.
He was cooking.
A person walks in the studio and sees your art for the first time. What do you want them to see? What do you want them to feel when they look at your art?
You're going to get mad at me. Authenticity.
Just authentic.
Authentic, because I'm the only person that could give you that feeling. They could walk downstairs and see Gary's, and Gary's the only person that can give them that feeling. I don't want you to come in and say, oh, that's like this. It's okay. But I want you to know that, what you said, there's only one Tony. His stuff is, unique to him, and there's only one Gary. Only Gary can draw boobs the way he does. Everything's nude, and it's like only Gary can portray a woman's body the way Gary does. Never seen anybody else do that. It's other nude art. Of course it is. Across Italy and across all kinds of areas where it's specialized. But Gary Pound is the only person that can do it that way. And I want you to feel the authentic energy resonating from that work and know that you're stepping into Tony's studio and that you're seeing Tony's work in that way and that you're having an experience that only I can give because that makes me feel powerful. See, and if I would have smoked more weed, going back to that.
He said, that ganja would have unlocked everything.
Yeah, I would have had more gems to give. See, but you know,
you dropped plenty of,
bro. You dropped this, bro.
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm glad.
Whole minefield.
I don't know how y'all do it. Like y'all go from one person to the next with all this in your head, and then you have to ask more questions. That's a lot. Look, I turned around. We don't have enough time.
We got it, bro. Definitely a part 2.
Yeah.
Definitely a part 2. I normally it's normally the artist or the entrepreneur that says that, but like, nah, I feel like we covered enough ground, but not enough ground.
Yeah.
For us.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That makes
sense. Like,
not enough ground for Tony.
Bruh, it's so much in you, bruh.
I really appreciate
it. There was
one
question
so much.
I wanted to ask just specific to pieces.
like it's so much to you. It's like layers.
I was looking around like I just want to ask a question.
Like
I just want to ask her.
How did you come up with that?
I saw you looking. I said, "Oh, we over here," because that's gonna trip you out. Just going up there,
just looking around, just like I just want to ask a question.
You're like this is cliche, but like a book. You know what I'm saying? Like. That. One of them thick ass books, but it's real.
One of them hairy part of it.
Yeah, like you gonna want
a book. I'm a book.
When you open it and you actually get to reading, you locked in. Yeah, and now you can't put it down until you're done.
Yeah, I like that.
Like that's what you are, bro. Really like you're a staple. You know, you're a gem.
Thank you.
Right. You're a gem, bro. I mean, like that's the only way that I can put it in the world. I'm happy that we're able to give you a platform to tell your story, bro.
And I'm grateful for this platform. Like I said, this is the only moment in time that apparently it was right to happen.
Bro, and I feel like we executed it, and I thank you for it.
Thank you so much.
Like I was saying earlier.
Oh yeah, my bad. I cut you off last.
Yeah,
he had to get your shit off.
He had a moment over there. He said, "Wait,
you had to get your shit off."
My bad.
You're familiar. Who's your top 5?
Top 5 artists. Obviously, Dr. Gary Pound. We got Bo Bartlett, obviously. Juliana Wells. I actually really like Nico Sama, Dominique Lumpkin.
Shout out to Nico.
Yes. And just had Nico.
This is so hard. I went really quick through that, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. You had 4 already, right?
I am. Yeah. I have my fingers down and I'm scared. Because I went for art, so I'm gonna stick with art because I went with visual art, not like film and stuff. Because Gumbo would have been in there and John would have been in there. But since I'm on this train, and Will would have been in there for acting.
Yeah, for sure.
The DCI, I gotta help myself out because these niggas gonna get me. But 5th, I said Juliana. Jared Holbrook, he's a younger artist. I actually have some of his work. So, and if I did photography, it would have been Trey Walker, Sammy Sachs, and all these people. I've done that. I've done it before. They know. So, yeah.
We know you.
Yeah. See, there we go.
There we go.
Man, this was great. This was awesome, amazing.
Hey,
I loved it. Every moment of it.
Thank you, bro.
This was nice.
It was different because we in a different location.
Well, I knew
it's always beautiful when we're in a new location.
And we're in the city.
Well,
still.
that's what I was gonna say. I knew I had stuff to do today, and I was like, well, maybe because Gumbo gets to come over all the time, so I was like, maybe they would like to be in the room. Absolutely. I felt bad at first. I was like, they're gonna think I'm bougie because I feel like niggas to bring y'all out of y'all element.
I was like, thank God.
No.
Oh really? I'm glad. I was very nervous.
Don't get me wrong. I like my space, but I like stepping out.
Okay. I like home.
I'm glad that
yeah.
Well, if we do a part 2, I'll come to y'all.
Okay.
Or if y'all want.
Not if, when.
Okay.
Yeah.
That works.
When.
Nah, we're just gonna come back and use a different part of it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
that would shoot it over there on the couch.
That would be fun. Yeah. It's what y'all want to do.
Different vibes.
With the birds.
That was phenomenal. I'm gonna do like a quick panoramic. I know you've been.
But this concludes another.
Oh, we're still on.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm sorry, y'all.
This concludes another great episode of Free Gems Network.
Phenomenal.